Is there anything you can share with authors who may be in the same position that you were in, with a publisher that goes out of business and they're having to make the decision about what you wanted them to do with your last book, but any tips you can share about getting your rights back for that?
Yeah, that was tricky. And there were other authors with the same publisher who were not as successful getting their rights back. They tried, and the publishing house didn't want to let go of their rights. I had this weird advantage that you might look at as a disadvantage to begin with. It's a weird story, but it has a happy ending. But basically, what happened is that particular imprint at that time was more of a mystery imprint, and they had a lot of cozies, and that is not what I write. I write a gritty, violent police procedural thriller. So my stuff wasn't selling as well as the cozies and the more softer or the historicals or the other things, the mysteries that they were selling. And I think part of it was because they weren't marketing as many authors like me. So I wasn't necessarily the best fit for them as it turned out. So they weren't as reticent to let me get my rights back because it was almost like they, I think, weren't sure what to do with me anyway. And my books weren't like at the top of their charts. They were selling okay, but I wasn't like their bestseller. And that's another reason why I think it's nice to have an agent, because an agent would have known like where to put me and would not necessarily have parked me in that location. But you live and learn. So I think that was part of the reason. And they had a lot of authors. I think was putting out like 70 or so books a year. They were putting out a lot of books, like, but other authors were actually victims of their own success. So, it was harder. And we had an authors group that was writing authors that we all got a Facebook group together. I would hear their horror stories and I felt bad. I'm like, man, they were holding on to them. But with me, it was almost like, can't get rid of you fast enough kind of thing.